Hello, cats and kittens. We are live, and welcome to the Beatles Roundtable Sergeant Pepper album. Tonight we are gonna be doing something very special. Tonight we're gonna be talking about the legacy and nostalgia of this iconic album, and we're each gonna talk about how we first got into this album, how we discovered it, and we're gonna go. Oh, I gotta mute the YouTube side. Sorry, give me a sec. There we go. Sorry. There we go. Shut up,
Oh,
YouTube.
good idea. Yeah.
And we're going to go track by track throughout the full album, and we're going to discuss each song, what it means to us, and why we still love it to this very day. And did we just lose? Oh, we lost Royce.
Uh-oh.
Oh, technical difficulties.
He hit that button.
He hit the wrong button. Oh, he'll come back. Yes, Royce. All right, but we're going to have a very good time tonight. So, everybody, grab your favorite snack and beverage. And I'm going to tell you one thing right now. A splendid time is guaranteed for all. Whoops, sorry, my bad. And Royce is back. Guaranteed for all. Someone's got to mute the YouTube side. Okay, I don't hear it anymore.
Yeah, right. It's still there. I'm going to turn my phone off.
Yeah, good idea.
It was me.
Okay, so I guess we're ready to start. Well, first of all, I'll start us all off, but first I'm going to show you a pillow I have here, a cushion that my friend gave me for my birthday. I'll make myself big here. And it's themed for the story of the night. As you can see, I love this. It's so beautiful. My Sgt. Pepper cushion, which I'm going to throw over there so I don't trip on it. And now,
hey James, I'm not trying to interrupt, but everything you're saying is being repeated in delay. Am I the only one that hears it?
I don't know.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, you sound good to me on my end.
You might be listening through the YouTube feed.
Yeah, sorry guys, we're having technical difficulties. Don't worry, we're gonna keep going. Don't worry, we'll start soon. We're just gonna wait till Royce gets himself situated. Yeah, I think he might have to mute the YouTube side. You know what? I'm not panicking. I'm good. We got this.
20 years ago today.
Yep, 20 years ago today, Sgt. Pepper taught the band to play. Yeah. Okay. I didn't think we were going to have technical difficulties. Sorry, folks. We're going to get the show going soon. Royce is just having problems with sound. So once he gets that all situated, then we're going to start. Yeah. But yeah, this is going to be fun. And I'm going to tell you my story, well, this is also kind of a story how I got into the Beatles, and it kind of led me to Sgt. Pepper. But I'm going to wait till Royce is back before we do it. Oh, yes, I love it. Actually, I should take mine out of the actual case here.
That's my mono. I could take it out of the case, but the other one I can't.
Oh, he's back. Okay. Are you better now?
I think so.
Okay, good. All right. I guess we're ready to start now. All right. Okay. So I will start us off. So we're flashbacking to, did I just make that? I think I just made up a new word, flashbacking. I don't even think that exists, but anyway. So we're going back to 1985.
It does in Canada.
And I'm 16 years old. It's the summer of 85. I go into my sister's bedroom one morning. I decide I want to listen to her Meet the Beatles album for some reason. I could have brought the record into my room because I had a record player in there too. But I decide to go in her room and I start to listen to it. And I'm like, I like this. Because I'd heard it years ago when she got it, but I never really took an interest in it. And I was playing every song track by track. I heard This Boy, and I listened to it with so much enthusiasm. I loved the harmonies. I loved everything about this album. And I listened to the whole album, and then I played It Won't Be Long 20 times over. And I said, okay, I want more. I want more of this band. I want to hear more. I wasn't a fan yet. I said, okay, the library opens at 1 o'clock, and back in those days, you can borrow records from the library. So 1 o'clock rolls around, I go there. I go to the Beatles section in the records at the library. I'm flipping through them. I see Rubber Soul. I see Please Please Me. But I don't know what years they are, because don't forget, I don't really know the Beatles, so I don't know what I'm going for. So I look through it and I come across Sgt. Pepper. I'm like, ooh, the album cover intrigued me. I'm like, this looks amazing. So I think I'm going to take this one. I could have taken a couple, but I didn't. I just took the one. Now I'm going to make myself big, and I'm going to show you my 2 albums that I have with Sgt. Pepper. First, we're going to start with my picture disc. I'm not going to take it out because this one's hard to get back in. I have to change the inner sleeve because
Very
this one's hard to
nice.
get out. But the side 2 is the bass drum. But that's and it sounds really good. So that's my picture disc of Sgt. Pepper, and this is the 50th anniversary edition. And now we go to the one that the iconic one that I remember getting at the library. Sorry about my ring light. And this brings me back the memories. This is not the original, but I bought this a couple years ago. This is the 50th anniversary edition. Got the gatefold.
Oh yeah.
And we got all the original sleeves that were originally with it. You get the booklet, and it tells you all the people on the front cover. You got the article with the lads, and then inside it tells you a little synopsis about the album and stuff like that. Put that down there. Then you have the original cutouts that came with the album. But when I got this at the library, of course, they took this out because they obviously know someone's going to steal it, you know. And then the hide sticker. And the original sleeves that came with it here. I'll just take one out. You don't need to see both because they're the same. Look at the psychedelic picture. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, that's great.
On both sides. And then it's on Parlophone, 180 gram vinyl. This is a 2-disc set because it's the 50th anniversary. It cost me like $56 altogether. Wasn't cheap.
Yeah, I've heard that the best version, the best sounding quality of that album is on the Parlophone.
Oh yes, definitely. That's why I always go for UK pressings. And now,
what are the extra tracks on there?
Oh, you want to know the extra tracks? Okay, let me take a look here. Which one is which? All right, let me see here. Okay, which one's which? Okay. Side 3. All right. The Sgt. Pepper Sessions. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, take 8. With a little help from my friends, takes 1 and 2. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, take 1. Getting Better, take 1. Fixing a Hole, take 3. She's Leaving Home, take 1. Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite, take 4. And then side 4, we have Within You Without You, take 1. When I'm 64, take 2. Lovely Rita, take 9. Good Days, Good Morning, take 8. I don't know, I was going to say Good Day Sunshine. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, Reprise, take 8. And the last one, A Day in the Life, take 1, and hummed the last chord.
Thanks, I was curious.
And that's all she wrote. So I'm not going to say anything else until afterwards, till we go through track by track. All right, so Royce, you're up. How did you discover Sgt.
Okay.
Pepper?
How did I hold on? Well, I discovered it just listening to music and friends that started to get it. But what made it really special to me is, oh man, I got to tell you, we have a really bad. Everything I've said is repeating right now, and it was the same when you were talking, James. Anyway, I just thought I'd let you know it wasn't that way before I went out and came back on the first time.
That's weird.
Nobody else can hear it?
Nope.
Okay, I'll continue. Okay, I had an older brother.
I'm sorry to come up. Maybe it's because that your YouTube website is currently on. You can mute it from the YouTube site. If it's from YouTube.
Is that your phone, Judah? Because I hear music.
Yeah, sorry, that was my phone.
Let me see. Okay, now having clicked on. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to mute that from here.
Well, if you have YouTube open, you might as well just close YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
that might be the logical thing to
is it
do.
still happening?
I don't
We
hear
don't
it.
hear it.
No,
Only
I
you
did.
do in your headphones.
I hear it.
Okay. I turned off the volume on YouTube.
Okay.
Okay, that should do
Bye.
the trick. Bye.
Thank
Okay.
Okay, so
All
here's what happened. I was about 5 years old when I discovered I had an older brother. He'd ran away from home to go live with his real dad. So he finally came back, and I had a brother. And he was so much older than me. It was like a parent, right? So hold on. Let me pop this back up. Okay, everybody good now?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. So anyway, my older brother was a craps dealer in Las Vegas, him and his roommate. And he came out to the house one day. I was 15 years old. He goes, "Hey, Royce, let me take you for a ride in my new car." Went out, took riding around town, and he says, "Do you smoke pot?" I go, "What? Why are you asking me that?" Because I'm still thinking he's kind of like a parent. He's so much older than me. And he goes, "Well, because I do, and you're talking like you do." And so that's when I lightened up and told him, "Well, yeah, I have been smoking pot now. I was 15 years old for, almost a year." So he goes, "Well, listen, why don't you and your friends come out to me and Larry's house in Vegas?" Well, none of us were old enough to drive. So in Henderson, Nevada, we stick our thumbs out on the highway, and we would hitchhike to my brother's house in Las Vegas. And we'd get out there and we'd, smoke a little something, but he'd put Sgt. Pepper's on, and we would sit there for hours and listen to Sgt. Pepper's. Then he might put on Cream, Disraeli Gears or something like that. Later on, he bought Magical Mystery Tour. We'd listen to that. And then one of my buddies got a car, and then pretty soon we're all getting cars. But anyway, that was probably the closest I'd ever been to my brother. I really felt like I had a great brother right then. He actually died in his 40s.
Oh, no.
And he'd moved to California to do his acting career, and things weren't working out, and he started drinking and wound up back at my mother's in Vegas, and then finally, started getting better and got a job as a craps dealer again in Vegas. And one thing about my brother, he was so sharp, he could always work his way into the best places in Vegas for tips on the craps tables. And it wasn't unusual sometimes for him to get, $1,500 a week just in tips. So anyway, that's Sgt. Pepper's became a really big album to me then, because I'd kind of started to get away from the Beatles at that point a little bit, because there was so much great music out there. And I'd been a Beatle fan since the 6th grade during the British invasion, And so anyway, that's how I fell in love with Sgt. Pepper, still a favorite of mine. And Sgt. Pepper, when they came out with Sgt. Pepper's, I mean, we're talking like Summer of Love era. Beatles actually took ownership. They took ownership of the psychedelic era with this album, Sgt. Pepper's. Mm-hmm. And I think this is my original album. No, everything's falling apart.
Yeah.
I would have gotten this at 16 years old. And I love this album. I love the picture on front. It's so iconic. There's so many stars on front. I also have, of course, the same one you had, Sir James, the anniversary edition, and with everything in it that you just showed. So let me like show it all again, but it's the same, obviously the gate
Oh yeah,
pole
definitely, yeah.
and everything else. There's those little posters in here. I don't know if you pull the little posters out or not, but
Yeah,
there's
earlier,
two of those, and I tell you what, I have loved this album. I have loved this album since I was 15 years old, and so that's how I became a huge Sgt. Pepper's fan, and to this day, it's still my very favorite Beatles album, Sgt. Pepper's,
nice.
because of the history that I have with it.
All right, JJ, you're up.
I'm a little younger and not that much, but I'm a little younger. So my mom was into the Beatles invasion. Actually, my aunt was in the Beatles. They used to have a kind of a war in the family. When my mom has four sisters, and the older two had a war kind of going on where one was Dylan and the other was Beatles. And my mom grew up a tomboy that she was, and it was even funny in the kitchen. Her and her sister would fight to have the Beatles on the radio or the Milwaukee Braves game. It was one of the two. So that goes back there. But they didn't have a lot of money, and my grandparents kind of put them on their own to get Beatles stuff. And so they would actually just buy the 45s because they were the cheapest. I remember kind of being in that era too with my allowance, whereas that's all I had the money to get was a single here and there. So my introduction to the Beatles when I was really young was a lot of these 45s, Hard Day's Night, She Loves You, all those Capitol releases, and even some of the later stuff too, with the 45s of some of the records with the Beatles. So I heard Sgt. Pepper on the radio, but I never really heard it in its entirety. I would put it on at a friend's house. We didn't really have the record itself, but I was always kind of advanced in the music too. To go back just a little bit, I had my Fisher-Price record player, and I tossed out that Sesame Street stuff in like 2 seconds, and I was grabbing my parents' stuff, and they were getting ticked because I was killing their records with that needle, because that needle was just vicious to any record you put on that thing. So I remember even when I was 8, they were quick to get me my own stereo that I had a real one with the 8-track player on it when I was with my first communion money. To fast forward, what I remember being the biggest Beatles thing was that they came out this thing when I was in the 80s called a CD player. And that was actually my first introduction. The big hype was, I kind of didn't understand it. I was like, why is everybody just like, why do the Beatles have to come on CD? Why do the Beatles need to come on CD? And there were, I went to the CDs, the mainstream records, and they had these big advertisements for it coming out. They had the big displays, and I slowly, with my allowance, was buying them one at a time, and got to actually finally hear the albums. And I've heard different things about those 87 releases and the sound. I remember the first 4 being mono, and then I actually do have one of the releases of Sgt. Pepper on. This is an 87 old one version of it that I've kept in pretty good. All my Beatles stuff I've actually, despite going to college and everything else, I've kept in really good shape over time. But the one thing is that I liked about it is that in the anthology, Paul always talked about it being like a concert that you brought with you. You brought that concert with you. And that's what I remember most about the Beatles Sgt. Pepper record is that it was this concert that I had it in my pocket that I could bring with me. And it was a whole, it was a concept from start to finish. It was like a story almost. You couldn't just listen to it. Isn't a one-track thing. Now when I've heard the whole thing together, I listen to it on the radio and I'm like, you can't just play that one track, or even when Paul does it live. I'm like, he just plays Sgt. Pepper and then, Lonely Hearts Club Band, great tune, but then he plays it and he's done. And it's like, I want to keep going, I always had that anticipation every time I hear it. So then the vinyl made a comeback. I was part of the CD era. I had vinyl for a while in the 80s, and then the CDs just took over. I even had a radio show. The only reason I needed vinyl on my radio show in the early 90s in college was we had one CD player, and in order not to have dead air, you had to play a record and then a CD. So we did have a copy of Sgt. Pepper, but the thing skipped all over the place. It was it was just every college radio guy played it. I think it was because we were in Brooklyn for their mixes. It was crazy. But that was the last I remember seeing it. So it wasn't until I got back into vinyl again that I went and got the 2014 stereo mix, 2017, I think it's 17 stereo mix of the Beatles. This is it. Actually, the glue on it is actually already starting to deteriorate. That's why I put it in this special case, because it was starting to go. But yes, it has all the stuff in here. I will say, on a side note, being also a Kiss fan, I'm very disappointed in them that they have not put their little stuff with their reissues. Like Love Gun should have the gun, but they don't put it out. But I always like the Beatles left that stuff intact. And then I also have a copy of the 2014 mono as well. And this was a different experience to hear. I always heard it in stereo. I heard it in stereo on this, heard it in stereo on everything. And this, what I liked about it, what I noticed on my player, and it made me really excited, was the mix moved in and out. It didn't no longer move like this. It moved like this, where it used volume and sound and everything. And, even, if you listen to the documentaries, George Martin even refers to like Strawberry Fields being part of that start of the Pepper, concept. And rather than, moving all around and being that way, these mono mixes actually kind of, use volume and different ways to mix music than I had ever heard before. So this is precious to me. I love listening to this. It's like listening to Sgt. Pepper Revisited. I can listen to any remix out there or whatever that they put out, but this to me is the way, I guess, they said it was meant to be heard. They said the Beatles only were involved in the mono mix. They were never involved in the stereo mix, according to what Andrew from Parlophone was saying the other day on a YouTube channel. So, yeah, that's my introduction to Sgt. Pepper.
All right, Dan, you're up.
Well, first time I discovered the Beatles, I was 7 years old, and that's when they were on the Ed Sullivan show. And I didn't pay much attention; I was really too young. But I was aware of the Beatles. And then as time went on, my older sister, she was 4 years older than me, so she was about 11 at the time. And my parents would buy her a 45 every weekend. She'd get a new 45. So that's how I was kind of introduced to rock and roll music, just through her record player, her 45s. And she was a big fan of the Beatles and Dave Clark 5. And being young, not knowing all their different songs, I always got Dave Clark 5 and the Beatles mixed up, who was who. And of course, I was so young. My interest in music was more kid music, like when the Monkees came out, I was a Monkey fan because there's more kid stuff, But as I got older, I started listening to the Stones and the Beatles more often. And it wasn't until probably when I was in the military, I had a roommate he was a Beatle nut. Let me tell you, everything was the Beatles. And that's when I really, got to know the Beatles, quite a bit better. And so I'm a Beatle fan, but I'm not a crazy Beatle fan.
Right.
I mean, they're a great, they're a great band. And but the Sgt. Pepper album really intrigued me, especially with the album cover. That they got the 61 different people on the front, and and that was also, to me, that was when the Beatles really changed how they were. Before they were like the Fab Four, and when they got to maybe even Rubber Soul, but when they got to Sgt. Pepper, that's when they changed their whole image. They wanted to be more adventurous, more experimental, and and I think it scared the record label, EMI. I think it really scared them because they didn't want to go out of that format. They were successful the way they were. Now suddenly they want to expand and do new things, and they were afraid of EMI. Didn't want to give them money for some of the things they wanted to do, but they eventually broke down and did what the Beatles wanted, thanks to Brian Epstein. Brian Epstein's the one that helped them out to get what they wanted, and I always like finding out how they come up with things, like with different bands, how bands come up with their names, how they come up with album names. And what I understand, they were on a flight someplace and they saw a sign that said Salt and Pepper, and they said Sgt. Pepper, and that's just silly little ways they come up with things. They came up with Sgt. Pepper. Another thing, what I heard too was that's back when Elvis was real popular, and Elvis had this thing where he had his pink Cadillac. He would ship it around to different cities, like on a tour. And the Beatles realized, wow, he's drawing a big crowd just with a Cadillac. So why can't we do something like this? That's when they start coming up with saying, well, what if we make up this kind of a fake band? So that's how Sgt. Pepper kind of developed. wanted to not be the Beatles anymore. They wanted to be this imaginary band. So, and that just kept expanding from that, different things in their music. And that's also the same time where they started, experimenting with drugs, the acid and all that. And that was a big thing. And that kind of reminds me too, the controversy about Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds,
Right.
It's supposed to be mean LSD, but John Lennon says, no, it's my son drew a picture, and it's about this picture Sean drew, but I still think it's about the acid. I still think it's about LSD. Because if you notice, a lot of their songs are drug related.
Yeah.
There's one song where they talk about, I forgot which song it was. We talk about picking the weeds. There's little innuendos all through the album about the drug stuff, and that's when.
Oh, they were. Yeah.
That's when George Harrison was, going through the meditation thing with the, what do you call it?
Maharishi.
Yeah.
Right.
So the Beatles were really becoming, at that point in time, I think they were kind of being more individual with everybody. I mean, they were, George wanted to be George, Paul wanted to be Paul. And actually, at that point in time, a lot of people thought the Beatles were getting ready to split. They thought they were getting ready to break up. And but then Paul McCartney comes in, and they said that's when Paul decided he was going to be the leader of the band. And Paul is the one that made him go to the studio. Let's work on this. And I haven't converted this over, but they were talking about how much money it cost to produce that album. In I don't know what the value was back then, but when you convert it over to today's dollars, it's like $700,000 to make that album.
Wow.
In today's money.
Wow. Yeah.
So they did spend a lot of money on it. I think that's what EMI was afraid of. They were afraid to put that much money into an album that may be a flop because they were going in a direction that was going outside their format, the successful format. And,
Right.
And of course, it did pay off. So the Beatles were right.
Right. Well, the times were changing,
Yeah.
and the Beatles changed with the times, and they just stayed right in there.
And one interesting fact that came out in the anthology as well that I remember saying that Ringo said he was bored during a lot of these sessions for the Sgt. Pepper because his stuff was just laid down later. He said he got really used to doing crosswords and just kind of hanging out because he didn't really have that much to do during that. But I guess somewhere around this time period, I don't know if it was during the Strawberry Fields or whatever, George Martin actually recalled taking John up on the roof to get air because he was having an LSD trip. Right then and there, and the only place he could take him was the roof because if we took him out the door, he'd be mobbed. So they had to run him up to. That's where they went to get their fresh air all the time. Was on the roof.
Yeah, another thing too that they did. I think it was a Sgt. Pepper album where they started miking Ringo's drums up differently too,
right?
Than what they had done previously. So it had a deeper sound. So that was a big change. I think that was a time for the Beatles where they made a lot of changes, which was risky, but it paid off. It did pay off.
Mm-hmm.
And before we go into the track listings, we're going to go track by track and talk about each song individually. But before I go into that, because I think Royce is going to like this, a few days after the Sgt. Pepper album came out, Jimi Hendrix, of all people, was going to do a concert. And he practiced only one night. He practiced one night listening to the album, to the first track, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and he performed it live, and Paul and John were in the audience, and they saw him do it live.
Sir James, you're 100% right, and this is what before he returned to the United States from England. He became a star in England, and all rock's royalty were coming out to see him. Like you said, John and Paul were there. Clapton was almost always there. Some of the Who were almost always there. Everybody, he was like a marvel to everybody, But let's see, what was I going to say about this? I was going to say that, yes, I think it was either 1 or 2 days after they released the album, he came and did that show when he played Sgt. Pepper's. Played it his way, but they thought that was like the ultimate compliment to them, meaning the Beatles.
The other thing I'd like to point out too, being this day and age to bring it around, is that part of that production cost. You think if we did the production today, they wouldn't had to put stand-ups to make that picture. It would have been all photoshopped and done on the computer. And I always find that amazing, and I can barely pick this out, but in the CD, it shows how they did the production. I don't know if there's any versions. And even
I haven't seen
had
that.
to
That's
point out that
interesting.
Hitler is on the side because they were actually tempted to put Hitler in there, but they backed off because it would be too controversial.
Yeah, that
Wow.
was John's idea that he wanted to have Hitler on there, but they vetoed that one.
Yeah,
Did you know that? Oh,
no, go ahead, Dan.
did you know that album cover is the most replicated album cover in history?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I can believe it. I love this album cover.
you know,
But I
Frank-
wanted to mention to
Yeah.
James. He brought up that he brought up Hendrix playing Sgt. Pepper's, and what I wanted to say to him was, I made a video on that. I have a video, that I made on that. Did a show on it.
I'll definitely have to check that one out.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, it's Jimi Hendrix, performs in England and all rock royalty shows up. The name's something like that. Anyways,
Hold on, we got something in private chat. Okay, there we go. All right, so now we're going to go track by track. So I'm gonna go back in time again, and then I'll say what I feel about the song now in this day and age. So we're going to start off with the first song, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. I remember the first time I got it from the library. I put the needle on side 1. You hear the band warming up, and then that, you hear that guitar, that high-pitched guitar. You know it's George all the time because George had that high-pitched, kind of shaky sound with his guitar. I sat there. I'm like, huh? What am I hearing? This is so different from the Beatles I heard this morning. And I was intrigued. I was like, wow, this song sounds so amazing. I never heard anything. This is my 16-year-old self, saying this, hearing this song for the first time. I never heard anything like it. It was unique. It was different. It was just magical. I said, this is so different from what I was listening to this morning. And I couldn't believe my ears, what I was listening to. And now we go flash forward to today. Hearing this song still gives me goosebumps. Still makes me feel like that day back in '85 when I heard this song for the first time. All right, Royce, you're up. The first track.
So first track, yeah. The title track, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Yeah, no, I enjoyed that song a lot. It's actually, well, this got a lot of play. It's playing every day, multiple times on the radio. And I was a big fan of this song. It just did it for me. I don't know what else to say, but it's a good song. There are no bad tracks on, in my opinion.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Not by a long shot.
Yeah, no, it was a good song, and I don't know how many. Oh God, I've heard it 100 times, to be honest with you.
And I never get tired of it.
No, and I don't either. That's right.
All right, JJ, you're up.
To me, it's the start of greatness. I know it lets me know that other stuff is coming that's going to be amazing. It's the intro. It's what grabs you. My favorite live albums, even of all time, are the ones that grab you with their intro. With Brian Wilson passing recently, I listened to the Beach Boys, 1973. That beat of the drum, that when that one starts out, you just know that that's the Beach Boys live 1973, and it's going to start. When Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, I am brought into this record, and I'm in it for the time. I'm going to listen to the whole thing.
Absolutely.
That's how I feel about that particular track. My favorite version of it, outside of this one, I had mentioned in the chat before as well, because Dawson was here, is on the Tripping the Live Fantastic album, which I think is one of the best live albums that he has. He did 2 versions of it. He had a best of that one, and then he has a full CD that he put out of different tracks, like many from that tour. I remember that tour even came here to County Stadium here in Milwaukee. I didn't go, but I know it came here locally, which is kind of unusual for us to get a show like that. But yeah, that when he does that live, he just gets the whole crowd going and wakes them up, or whatever you want to say. I'd say nowadays he wakes up his crowd because they're a little bit older now, and they got to get themselves moving.
Hey,
Yeah.
get the let out, people,
Out
he
on
says.
But unfortunately, I found that out in 2003 because like nobody, when he played Band on the Run, nobody stood up. Yeah, that's kind of what it is to me. It's the song that brings me into the album and makes me and even Paul's always talked about that, where it's just like he creates this like alter ego. He becomes the ringleader of the whole show that we're about to hear.
Mm-hmm. All right, Dan, you're up.
It was very smart of the Beatles to put that song first on the album because people knew who the Beatles were, and suddenly the Sgt. Pepper thing came out, and they're going, "What the hell is this?" Well, the first song says, "Let me introduce to you," so they're letting everybody know who we are, who Sgt. Pepper is, and the story behind it. And the good thing, one thing they did too, that was, I think they probably were one of the very first albums to do this, to make the album continuous. There is no blank space between the songs.
Right.
They would blend one song into the other song, and of course a lot of bands have done it. Pink Floyd's done it since then. So it was a start. Once again, it was experimental, and it was something great. So once you start listening to that first song, you don't stop. It just keeps going and going and going and going. And every song is different. There is no dead space, and I thought that was genius to do that. You keep the people keep the people listening.
The one thing I take away from this first song, it's like a concert, the way it starts. And it just draws you in. And then, hi, Angela. And then it just segues into, with a little help of my friends, which is the next track. I think Ringo did a very good job on this song. He did so well. I think it's one of his best tracks that he's done on this album. And the way he sings it with passion and everything. And there is a drug reference in there. I get high with a little help from my friend.
Yeah, that's another one, yeah.
Definitely.
And there's a drug reference in there right there. And the other version I love of this, and he does it justice, he makes it his own, is Joe Cocker.
Oh, yeah. Good version.
That version just blows my mind. Every time I hear it, I get goosebumps. I'm like, Joe, you did it good. You did it justice. You did it. You made it your own. You didn't butcher it, because other people that do a cover of a Beatles song, some are good and some are not so good, and I'm very picky about that. But Joe Cocker, I'll give you a thumbs up for doing this, but with a little help from my friends, the way they did that, the harmonies in the song are so beautifully done. I can't say enough about Ringo's vocals. His drumming in this song is so good, and I'm glad they gave him that track to sing, because he is the one and only Billy Shears. All right, Royce, you're up.
Well, I agree with you. Especially about the Joe Cocker thing. That I'm a big Joe Cocker fan. I've just recently started buying some of his albums again. I haven't had any of his actual vinyl in a long time. But that song, A Little Help with My Friends, in particular the line, I get high with a little help from my friends. I have to be honest, that became like an anthem for me and all my friends. In fact, everybody I knew in the town of Henderson, that was almost like slang, It would come up often, get high with a little help from my friends, But anyway, so that's a great track. It's so many memories with that track. It's just excellent. Excellent. Who else did? Somebody else covered that, didn't they?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Hey, Vance, how you doing? Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Hey, Vance.
My buddy to the south.
How's it going, brother?
My buddy 90 minutes to the south.
Vance, you want to come up? You're more than welcome to if you want. There's lots of room up here.
Yeah.
Just say the word, and my co-host backstage will put the link up for you if you want to come up.
Say the word is a Beatles reference, right, John?
Yep. Say the word. Yep. All right. So, JJ, it's your turn. Yes, I almost forgot.
Well, the Joe Cocker is great, but even better is when John Belushi does Joe Cocker with Joe Cocker. My favorite thing ever on SNL is when John Belushi comes behind him and it does him perfectly.
Yeah.
First is that the scream is from the Hollywood Bowl. I don't know if people know that or not. It's from they took that right out of the tracks of the Hollywood Bowl that they had, because when they went through a lot of the live stuff, even at that time, it was all just muddled screaming. And so that's where they knew right away if they needed screams, they just went to a concert and they could get it instantly.
Right.
Exactly. But the other part I liked about this part is that Ringo's like the first man up. Paul's introducing it, and then you have Ringo. He's kind of hitting the audience with kind of a, in my opinion, at least in my ears, hitting him kind of with a rope-a-dope, because you would expect John or George or whatever to be next, and there's Ringo right away with this great song that's become almost his anthem and his ballad. I mean, when I saw him do this live on the first tour for the All-Star Band back in 88 or 89 in Alpine Valley, and the crowd, I mean, when he does a little help from my friends, I mean, I think he keep that going for 10, 15 minutes if he wanted to with the whole song. It's his anthem. Created it to be that, and it's a great song, and it really kind of makes him really stand out as far as his own independent artist as well, that I think doesn't get a lot of love in the Beatles world, because everybody has their John, their George, and their Paul, but they tend to not consider him as much. But let's face it, I think he's one of the best drummers ever as far as keeping time, and he'll keep time when fans are screaming, because some of their live stuff, if you listen to it, he's amazingly on time when he doesn't really seem to go off the rhythm very much at all. He was amazingly talented, and so I think he got some love here on this album, and it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, definitely. Like he's just so iconic. A lot of drummers, they look up to Ringo and they say, "Ringo, you're the reason I became a drummer."
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, Dan, you're up.
Well, obviously, I never saw the Beatles in concert. Never had a chance to do that. But just like JJ, I saw Ringo Starr in concert about a year and a half ago with his all-star band. And when he sang this song, it was just almost like seeing the Beatles. I mean, it was perfect. He wasn't playing the drums; he was just standing up singing.
Right.
But the band itself, it sounded just like the Beatles, and it's almost like going through a time warp. But oh my God, I can't believe I'm actually watching Ringo sing this song. It's unbelievable. And so
that's really cool.
Oh yes, definitely.
I definitely never got I haven't seen Ringo yet, although he's played locally a couple of times.
Now we go to track number 3. This one is very psychedelic, but it doesn't have to do with LSD. We go to Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. This song is so iconic. Every time I hear it on the Beatles channel on Sirius XM, I just stop what I'm doing and I just listen to it. It's such a great song. The way the instrumentation is put together, the way it's produced by George Martin is just perfect, and the way John's vocals are so good. And you know what? It's based on Alice in Wonderland. Like newspaper taxis appear on the shore, waiting to take you away. It's a fantasy like Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, it's definitely a fantasy. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's such a beautiful song, and the other version that went to number 1 with the song, and it's a classic cover, Elton John when he does "Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds."
Oh yeah. That's right. I've seen Elton John. I've seen Elton John twice in concert, and I've seen
him too twice.
That. Yeah.
I mean, the way John sings this song is so beautifully done. It's such a great song, and I'm glad that they included it in the movie Yellow Submarine.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Royce, you're up.
Well, just to pick up where you left off on Elton John, I saw him at 18 years old at the Las Vegas Convention Center. I lived there in Nevada. And then I saw him, what was about, I don't know, 8 or 10 years ago. My wife and I saw him at the Forum at Caesar's Palace. And that was the $1 Million Piano show. He was like he was there. It was a residency. He was there for quite a while. But there was a huge screen behind him in the Forum. And whatever song he was playing, if it was, Benny and the Jets, or what's the one with the celestial words in it? Can't remember offhand right now. But
I'm drawing a blank too.
Yeah, whatever song he was playing, there was a moving picture moving across that screen, and I didn't realize it until I finally got to see that show, the $1 Million Piano Show, why they called it the $1 Million Piano, because you know that white band that runs all the way around the exterior of the piano. Whatever scene was moving across the screen was moving across his piano as well. So there was quite a bit of technology in that piano. But anyway, no. So yeah, no, I'm a big fan of that song. Big fan. Yeah, this. I mean, I was right smack in the middle of the psychedelic era, where everybody was experiencing or experimenting, I should say, with psychedelics when this album came out. And songs like this were just, I mean, this probably at the time, this was my favorite album at the time. And there's not a song I don't love on this album. I love some a little more than others, but I love every single track on this album. It's just fantastic.
All right, JJ, you're up, Mr. Fisher Price Man.
I have a story for this one, actually. I had gotten this CD for Christmas, and I was home for Christmas break, and I went to go get my wisdom teeth out. And when I went for the consultation, the doctor said, I have a CD player in the room. It was the kind where you get all 4 out at once. And I have a CD player in the room, so you can bring whatever CD you want. It'll help relax you a little bit, for it. So, of course, I got this. So I brought it with me. And I remember him sitting there holding it. And he's like, wow, this is nice. He's opening it up. He's actually reading it. And I'm nervous as hell. And he's going through it. Yeah, well, that's a nice, he was looking at the pictures and everything. We're talking about it. And he's like, well, he goes, you're not going to be able to hear a lot because I'm knocking you out. But he goes, what do you want me to put on? And what track? And I was like, surprise me. And he puts on, what popped down my headphones was Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. And I'm kind of at that point where I'm going under for this medicine. And I'm hearing, picture yourself. I'm actually starting to picture this stuff. Yeah. I mean, it was only for like 20 seconds of my life because I woke up and I was like and I was sick as a dog from the medicine. But that was my best memory I remember of this song. Was just, man, I pictured myself on a boat by a river. I was smoking.
You were there.
I was there, yeah. Me and probably the Care Bears. We were all there.
Care Bears.
And but no, what I love this song about is that it creates that visual. They call it a psychedelic experience. I think what it is it paints a picture so well, and it creates a vision so well that you don't even need visuals. Like, I mean, they do the animated thing, with the song in Yellow Submarine. You don't need that. If you just close your eyes and listen to the song, it creates this picture that to me is just it's just iconic. So that's kind of what I get out of this song.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, JJ. Completely.
I do too. All right, Dan, your turn.
I kind of misspoke earlier when I said that John Lennon said that the song "Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds" was inspired because of the picture that I said Sean, but I meant Julian.
Yeah.
Julian that drew it. But also, now I'm not real familiar with Alice in Wonderland, but is that because I also heard that the song was inspired by what is his name, Lewis Carroll.
Lewis Carroll's the one that wrote Alice in Wonderland.
They call it Through the Looking Glass. So I guess that's Alice in Wonderland. Because I'm not real familiar with that.
I'm not sure.
Yes, it is. It is.
But I kind of think it's a mixture of all that. I think probably something that Julian, drew. It's something that from the Through the Looking Glass and with the LSD reference, it all came together in one song. That's just my opinion, though.
Because if you look at the first letter in the name of the Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, it spells out LSD.
Yeah.
Right.
It's Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. And every time sometimes they just play it on the Beatles channel on Sirius XM, or you hear John doing a little intro to it that picture yourself in an old-fashioned elephant. This is Lucy in the Sky for everyone.
Well, the BBC banned it for a while. So
That's right.
And when we get to side 2, there's another song they banned, but I'm not going to talk about that just yet. We just have to wait and get there. All right. Next up is number 4, Getting Better. Now, I can't remember who takes the lead. Is it Paul or John on this one?
Paul.
I'm not sure. Maybe Paul.
I like this
Yeah.
song. It's so good. Like the when they take a walk by the old school, and I think they're just having a flashback of good old days. And I couldn't figure out. It's time to meet the wife. I thought he was going home from work and going home to meet his wife, but actually, I found out on Breakfast with the Beatles. Chris Carter said what he means by that is that it was a British sitcom called Meet the Wife. I was like, oh, that makes sense. I didn't know that, but it's such a great song, and it's like they're telling a story of a day when everything is getting better and better. Like I used to be cruel to my woman. I beat her and took her away from the things that she loved. Now I'm changing my scene and all that kind of stuff. It's like changing your life for the better. And that's what I take away from this song, and it's beautiful.
Hmm.
All right, Royce, you're up.
That's great.
Yeah.
For me, this is I can't say an absolute album of equals, but it's close. I can't say I like this song over that one. I mean, there are a few standouts for me,
Mm-hmm.
but I think this is a great song. Do I think it's as good as Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds? No, but close enough. I mean, it's still a great song, and so yeah, I think it's a great song. That's all I can say about it. It's a great song.
Okay. All right, JJ, you're up.
I like that. It really in it's. I see the song as being a really good collaboration with the two of them. That's why I think it was kind of cool. We were sitting there debating like who really has the lead on this song. Because it really is kind of it really does kind of shine that collaborative effort with the two of them, and the lyrics really fit because all that touring, all that stuff that they went through with just being having fame tossed upon them. That they're kind of looking that things are getting better and things are I'm feeling better, and they're it just kind of has that real upbeat tone, and I can relate to it in my own life where things may not be the greatest they are now, but they're getting better, they're progressing, and that's where I kind of relate to it personally.
Right.
But yeah, I agree with Royce. It's not the killer song on the record.
No, it isn't, but it's still a good song to listen to. But there's other ones that pop out at you even more.
But let's go back to that concert again. We talk about this being like a concert. When you go see a concert, not every song that you hear at a concert from start to finish is going to grab you. You're going to have those moments in that concert when you got to take it down a notch and then bring it back up again.
No, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Dan, you're up.
Well, something I read that I thought was pretty interesting, how they even came up with that name for that song, Getting Better. I can't remember who it was, but they was like in the studio or whatever, and had a break going on, and this guy was talking to his wife on the phone, and she asked him, "How's it going down there?" He goes, "Oh, it's getting better." And McCartney heard that. He goes, "Oh, I got to incorporate that into a song." And then, of course, the song has a whole different meaning than what this guy was saying. But,
Right.
but he just liked that. He liked that phrase, "Getting better."
Getting better, right?
And of course,
Exactly.
McCartney and Lennon kind of played off each other. Where McCartney would sing this part, it's getting better all the time. Then Lennon would come in, it can't get no worse. So they kind of played back and forth, which was pretty good.
Yeah, I
That's
think
cool.
that's really cute. What's up next? We have Fixing a Hole. Now, this is where Paul takes the lead. I think this song is really, really good. I'm fixing a hole where the rain gets in. That keeps my mind from wandering. And I think they kind of used that in the movie Yellow Submarine, where Ringo had a hole in his pocket. I have a hole in my pocket.
Oh yeah.
He keeps it from keeping his mind from wandering. That's where I remember that from in Yellow Submarine when Paul says that with the hole. I just think this song is very, very beautiful, and I think it's about when fans were coming to his house a lot, and he said, I keep him from knocking out my door and stuff like that. It's a good song. Not one of the best, but it's still a good one. All right, Royce.
Well, I agree with you. It's not one of the best, but it's still a very good song. And you know what? And I can feel the psychedelic coming out of it big time. And I was just saying to somebody the last couple of days that one of my favorite genres of rock has become the psychedelic genre. I like how it gets out there. It's there's all kinds of songs out there, but psychedelic, that's just got that something special, that it gives you. And whether it's memories or it sends your mind to wandering about what they're talking about and fantasizing and things like that. But I like that song. I think it's a good one, just like
Oh
you.
yeah, definitely. All right, JJ.
Yeah, I agree with you. Unfortunately, I'm biased with the Yellow Submarine stuff in here because of the movie I saw as a kid and all that with the holes. And so with that, when I listen to this, I can't help but not think of that. But I do like the whole analogy that McCartney puts out there for you're kind of fixing a hole. I mean, are we doing that all the time? And so I think it's the song again, very relatable. But again, it's that whole going from getting better and then kind of keeping that same tempo of getting better, and then now moving it into this whole idea of fixing a hole, and in a different lyrical kind of switch, but the tempo was kind of still staying the same until we get to the next one. So I kind of like the way it flows. I'm the same boat. It's not my favorite song on the album, but it is part of that flow, and I don't turn it off. I mean, it isn't. I mean, but every song on here is brilliant for one reason or another.
Yep. All right, Dan.
Well, something I find interesting about this song here, and I never knew this until I kind of did a little research on it, where the lyric, "a hole in the roof where the rain leaks in," McCartney actually took that somewhat, I guess, from Elvis Presley's song, "We're Gonna Move." And I got to verify that. I got to look at that to make sure, because I'm not familiar with that Elvis Presley song, but supposedly there's a lyric in there that's where McCartney got that from. He adapted it from an Elvis song. So I have to check that out.
Yeah, that's from the movie Love Me Tender. There's a leak in this old building. We're going to move to a better home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, we're moving on to She's Leaving Home. Now, this song, when I first heard this when I was like 16 years old, I have to go back to that time because I'd never heard anything like a beautiful instrument like the harp. How they incorporated a harp into a Beatles song. My jaw hit the floor. I was like, wow, this is beautiful. And it's based on some girl that ran away from home for real. And Paul was inspired to write this song about her running away from home. And this song, the harmonies in the background are so beautifully done. It's like this song is so haunting and sad at the same time. But every time I hear it, it just gets better and better. Okay, there's a little pun I just did. It just gets better and better every time I hear it. And I remember the first time I heard it, at the ending, I cried. I cried not because it's sad, because I thought it was the most beautiful song I've ever heard by the Beatles using a harp. And the mono version is a little bit different because the way you hear the harp, it sounds more crinkly at the beginning when it starts. There's a difference. When you hear the stereo version, it's clear, but when you hear the mono version, the harp sounds a little bit tinny. It sounds different.
Oh, okay.
So you should listen to the mono and then the stereo. You're going to see a difference in the harp. But it's such a beautiful song.
I would do that if I had the mono version.
Unless you find a mono version on YouTube.
No, I know. I was going to say that next. But yeah, I agree with you. The harp is a very sweet touch, and that's one of the things the Beatles experimented with a lot. Some of these, these really different instruments. I mean, the one that George Harrison would go play. He'd leave, go to India or something, and take lessons on a certain instrument. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head right now, but they did a lot of experimenting. I don't know if they get all the credit they deserve for experimenting the way they did. And and that comes through on this song, and I enjoy it. And She's Leaving Home probably has different meanings to different people. My youngest daughters were twins, and I'd moved them up here into the West Hills, 11 miles from the ocean, and I thought I'd moved to paradise, and I thought they would all think the same thing, but they hated it. They couldn't wait to leave and go to the big city as soon as I got out of high school. Ran down to L.A. So when I hear the song now, She's Leaving Home, I think of my kids leaving, because living where we were living, if you wanted their friends to come up, either their parents brought them up or you went and got them, and vice versa. So that it's kind of a heavy, sort of melancholy song to me. She's Leaving
It
Home.
is, yes.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike. This is not just for Sgt. Pepper, but other albums, they went to George Martin. They said, I want to put strings in this. I want a little orchestral background for it. And they're like, you want to do that in a rock and roll song? Like
right.
Take Yesterday, for instance. You get the strings in the back. It just complements it so well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right, JJ, you're up.
Again, it's a beautiful song with the heart. You got pretty much said everything that I was thinking. And then also, I'm in the same boat as Royce now when I heard this song, because I just got my mono version recently, and I was playing it, and I was thinking the same thing, because She's Leaving Home. I think about my daughters leaving home. They're both 22 and 21, and one now goes to college in Indiana. The other one is home for a bit now, and then she's going to go off to she has a job in Michigan. It's kind of now more themed for me, I guess, than it ever was before. I kind of always thought it just kind of being a story, but now I can actually more personalize it now. So that's why I think it's way different meaning than it did back when I was 16 and picked up the CD.
It's exactly how I feel, JJ. Yeah.
All right, Dan, your turn.
Well, to be honest, I'm not real familiar with this song, but I did read up on it. And it was basically McCartney was he was talking about the plight of runaways is what it was. And it's basically about a girl that was having a disagreement with her parents and she ran away. And so it was basically a song about runaways, and is what I'm reading. Like I said, I have to listen to the song again. It's been a while. But
yeah.
And they thought it was kind of odd because they said it's a very conservative song, and McCartney's not really conservative. So they said it was kind of odd for him to, make a song like that. But I have to listen to it again I'm sure if I heard it, I would recognize it. I just don't, just seeing the name of it, I don't really remember how it sounds.
I forget the girl's name, but apparently years back, she was on some talent contest where she was lip syncing, and she won the contest, and Paul was there, and he was one of the judges, and he presented her with a prize. And that's the same girl that ran away.
Okay.
Years later.
Wow.
I know my Beatles stuff. I study all this stuff.
I guess you do.
I listen to the Beatles channel a lot.
We'll have to get even with him, Dan. Do a Zeppelin show next.
Oh. Yes. Okay. Wait, I got to bring up Bill's comment here. And Royce, would you like to read it?
Yes. We never thought of ourselves leaving, never a thought for ourselves, home. We struggled hard all of our lives to get by. She's leaving home after living alone for so many years. That's kind of that last sentence, after living alone for so many years, and that's how she felt, I guess, living with her parents or whoever she was living with, that she was alone.
Right.
Yeah. Now we end side
Pretty
one
heavy
with
stuff.
one of my favorite songs from side one. For the benefit of Mr. Kite. So it's for the benefit of Mr. Kite.
What language was that in?
Well, that's how John says it sometimes. He used to say, for the benefit of Mr. Kite. You know how he would do all these different voices and stuff, and he'd be a little silly because that's how John was.
Right.
Exactly.
And he was in some thrift store or something, I guess, and he was looking at all the stuff, all the art, all the items that you could buy, and then he saw this poster art, being for the benefit of Mr. Kite. And all the lyrics were right there. And that's how he got inspired. So he bought the poster, took it home, put it on his wall, and that's how he wrote the song. Wow. And I like the whirling sound it has, how George Martin put it together. They had the loop tapes together to do all this stuff. I forget what the machine was called that they do, the thing. I can't remember what the name of the instrument is.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. bugs me now. It's going to bug me now, and I can't remember what the instrument's called. But the way this is all put together for this song just works. I love the lyrics. It's like you're at a circus. You feel like you're there. You
Yeah.
can see him doing his summer sets and everything, and it's just a great, iconic song. And also, if you've ever seen the movie Across the Universe, Eddie Izzard, he sings it in the movie, and he does it justice. It's so funny to watch Eddie Izzard singing this song, and every time I go, when he says "Don't be late," I always say "Don't be late." I just love that part for some reason, and then how they
right.
and it just ends like that. Perfect song. All right, Royce, you're up.
Good song, but definitely not one of my favorites. But I enjoy it, and I will say about this particular album, we never, going all the way back to listening to it in my brother's living room, we never skipped songs. You always played this album all the way through, and got to know the songs, and there were no bad songs. I mean, you know, the more you listen to them, the better they get, as far as I'm concerned. And I enjoyed that song. Like I said, not one of my favorite songs, but it's still a great song.
Definitely. All right, JJ.
Yeah, I love the circus sound. It kind of creates this whole big top circus kind of thing with it. So in the way, like as James mentioned, that how he does the voices and all that is fun. But I didn't notice something about this song until I heard it on record when I got back into vinyl again. Because this plays all the way through. It just basically goes to Benefit of Mr. Kite, and then it just goes to the next song because it's a CD. You can't flip a CD.
Right.
But what I've noticed since I've listened to it is that this is like the intermission. This is the song that they do that big number whenever you go to a Broadway show or a concert, and you have that big number, and then they bring the curtain down, and it's intermission time, and you want more, and you're there wanting more. That's what makes you flip the album over. That's where it's just brilliantly. It's just a brilliantly placed track because it kind of left me where I'm like, oh, I want to hear more of this, and I'm going to flip it over and hear it. But again, I didn't experience that at all until I got back into vinyl again, because of this, you just don't get that.
Definitely. You're right. It is like an intermission. Like it's a big crescendo before, the
curtain comes down.
It's gone. I want more. Please bring it back. Please bring more. I want more. I'm hungry for more. All right, Dan, you're up.
Well, I agree with Royce. This isn't one of my favorite songs, but I got to admit, Lennon did a great job putting together a song with this. It made you feel like you were at a circus so much that you can almost smell the sawdust. It felt like a circus.
Right.
With the calliopes and all that. I mean, it sounded like you're at the middle of a circus. So he did a great job on it, but it's not one of my favorites.
No. All right, now we flip over to side 2, and then the second act of the Broadway show comes back. Now we start off very psychedelic because now we get the sitar and the Indian music. And now we get into Within You, Without You. Now this song, when I first heard it, I didn't understand it. I didn't know what was going on with the song because I was young. I was 16. I didn't know much about George and the sitar and the Indian music and the meditation and all that kind of stuff. But when I got older, in my early 20s, and then I got into, I'm in my 50s. I'm 56 now. Hearing that song, it makes more sense to me more than ever. And I just think it's a really good song, and the sitar sounds so beautiful. Like I'm so glad that what's his name there, Ravi Shankar taught him to play this. And the ending, the first time I heard it, at the end when they laugh, I thought they were crying at first because it sounds like crying, but I learned later on, oh my God, they're just laughing. And I just felt, well, this song is very psychedelic. It fits side 2 to start off the second side of the album. And every time I hear it, I just want to hear it more and more because I love George. Well, John's my favorite Beatle, but this song by George just took my breath away. Let's put it that way. All right, Royce, you're up.
Well, Sir James, I agree with you on so many levels. I mean, George is actually one of my favorites. He was held back by John and Paul. They kind of
I agree.
collaborated together
Mhm.
and pushed George to the side. And it was very rare he had more than 2 or 3 songs he wrote, and sometimes none of them at all, you know. But yeah, the sitar was the instrument I was trying to think of earlier, and I couldn't think of it. But no, that's a great touch on this song. A great touch, you know. And this song grows on you. It really grows on you. You may not like it as much in the beginning, but you only have to hear it a few times, and you begin to love this song. And
Oh, yeah.
that's where I'm at with it.
All right, JJ.
I have to be honest. When I was young, I remember hearing it. I was kind of had the what the heck is that
Yeah.
Kind of attitude when I was a child.
Right.
And then then I remember kind of when I got the CDs and I was a teenager, it was more like this is pretty funky. But now being more actually introduced to the Indian culture, when I was the only American on my team when I worked for an IT job for 5 years, and I was the only one in America basically, and everybody else was in India. I became a greater appreciation of the culture and a greater appreciation of food and that. So this song I actually do like, and I was kind of impressed how when I've researched it out, George delved himself into that, into learning how to play the sitar and had a real appreciation for the music and everything. He just didn't want to grab that sound. He wanted to know more and know everything about it, and that to me was always impressive. But it is what it is, kind of a song for me personally. But I do really appreciate now more and more the sitar sound in there.
Mm-hmm. All right, Dan.
Yeah, the sitar. That's the first time I ever heard of a sitar was when this came out, and to me is this whole album, like I said, got drug hints in there. To me, this sounds like a song that you would listen to when you're tripping. I swear.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's right.
And
yeah.
what I think is really unique about this song is George Harrison's the only Beatle on this song. The others weren't on this song. It's George Harrison only. I'm pretty sure it was just George Harrison, and he recorded with I forgot what they called. There's a Indian-based band that was out of London that they recorded it with.
Interesting.
Well, actually, 2 other albums before this, Revolver and Rubber Soul. Rubber Soul was the first one where George put the sitar on Norwegian Wood, and then the other one is Love You Too.
Well, was he already with the Maharishi back then? I mean,
no, they hadn't gone there.
Okay.
This was before the White Album.
Okay. But I didn't think he got with the Maharishi until right before Sgt. Pepper is what I thought.
Yeah. All right. Next one up is When I'm 64. Well, funny I'm saying that because Sir Paul McCartney just celebrated on Wednesday his 83rd birthday. So he wrote this when he was like 14.
Wow.
And but he never recorded it till this album, and I like it. Like it's like he's singing to a girlfriend or wife, but he wasn't married to Linda then. I don't even think he met her yet, to my knowledge. But he was singing to someone, "Would you still love me? Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?"
Yeah.
And I just like the song. It just sounds so cool and it's funny and it's an iconic song. I think it's one of my favorites. I mean, I'll say that now, but then I'll find another Beatles song. So this is my favorite today. It's like you, Royce. You say one time I like this song. Oh no, today it's a different one. It'll switch around.
No, that's exactly right. And just like favorite albums, sometimes it's whatever you're listening to at the time,
Yeah, this is my favorite album of the day. And
right.
It'll be Jimi Hendrix.
Then I forgot how good this one was, though.
yeah. That's how it goes. But the
right.
64 is great, and that's also in Yellow Submarine as well.
Yeah, well, this is the first time I'll use iconic, and I'm using that on when I, will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64? Because we walked around saying that when I was a teenager, and you didn't do that with a whole lot of the songs from this album, but this was one of them. I mean, we were all saying that saying it was. I don't know. It's one of those ones you get it in your head and you can't stop thinking about it. It's like on a daily basis, you're thinking about when I'm 64. And here I'm thinking to myself, well, the way things are going, I'm going to be really lucky to break 30.
Well, look where you are
But-
today. You made
oh,
it,
yeah,
you made it
yeah.
this far, so you're
Yeah.
doing good.
Well, thank you. But it was a great song, an iconic song. I would pick it up, above the middle. We've all mentioned that a few weren't our favorites, but I would pick this up above all those that I've said that about right now.
Between that, before we get to JJ, between that song and my other favorite Paul song on I'm going to go to the White Album. One of my favorites on there is Rocky Raccoon. That's another one of my favorite Paul songs.
Yeah.
Like the way he puts on an American accent, like he's back in the Western days,
Right. Daniel Boone.
Yeah, I just think that song just speaks volumes to me as well.
Well,
as this one.
that's another Beatles song that we had all memorized the lyrics to. It was just a fun song.
Okay, I got to bring up. Hello, John Smith. Do you think Penny Lane, She's Leaving Home, etc., were clear examples of Paul being directly inspired by Pet Sounds? That's a good question. I think so. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I mean, this album was inspired by Pet Sounds for sure. So I could see that.
Yeah, I do too.
I can see that too. I think a lot of people are seeing it now because I think a lot of people like myself, since Brian died, have gone back and even it might not be that you're spinning the vinyl, but even on like your iPhone or whatever, you're playing the songs and stuff like that. I think you're kind of hearing it now a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
definitely. All right, JJ, you're up.
I never forgotten May 5th, 2014. It's my mother's birthday. And I texted her, which I was very proud that she had text. And I texted her and I said, Mom, this is awesome. The song has come alive. You're 64 today. I even wrote it all out like, will you still need me? Will you? And then she the most scathing text back. She's like, that means I'm old. So you're telling me that I got I expected my mom to be nostalgic because I'm in the Beatles and everything. And she came back at me like I was accusing her of being old and ancient. I'm like, whoa, boy, I guess it was the whole thing of like Royce maybe was hinting to a little bit where you sung the song all the time, but I don't think you ever expected it to come to fruition. Now
Yeah.
and she wasn't ready for it, and I wasn't ready for that reaction either. But what I love about this song is the syncopation in the song. That then and those rests. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
And that's why I think a lot of times in band, even as a kid, they played it in the 80s, even in band, in middle school and stuff like that. They would get it out for the clarinets and everybody would play it in marching bands and stuff. So now the Beatles, also started to make their influence now into areas where they were considered to be taboo and they didn't want the kids to have it. Now their kids are actually starting to play their stuff and seeing it for the artistry that it was. So that's what I think this song for him has always been a really iconic song that way, where I think a lot of kids, it's the introduction to the Beatles because they're in band as a kid and they're hearing it. This is where they're kind of hearing the Beatles for the first time.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, Christopher, hello. All right, Dan, you're up.
Yeah, I've always liked this song. I've always loved this song here, and because it's kind of a happy song. It's a happy song with a clarinet. It's almost
it is a happy song. Yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, when I'm 64, I was thinking, oh my God, that's someone that's really old, And
beyond.
And here I am nowadays. I'm looking in the rearview mirror at 64 now. I mean, that was a while back.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
But it's something, I always wondered, when they always mentioned 64, I always remember, well, one day I'll be 64, and it came quicker than I thought, but
Right.
We
Same
back-
here.
also have a long way to go before I'm 64.
Yes, you do.
But
I just hope when I'm 64, I remember the lyrics to when I'm 64.
you will. Trust me, you will. All right, now we're coming to a song that I absolutely love. Michael's here. Ah. Oh, that's okay, Michael. Oh, Michael's here.
Hey, Michael, how you doing, brother?
Hey, Michael.
Hey, Michael, good to see you, buddy.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
understandable.
great to see you. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. We love you, man.
Yes, we do.
Go have some of those cookies.
Michael's a brother for sure.
All right, so next up, we're going to one of my favorite songs. I think this song is so beautiful. I love Paul's vocals on this. Lovely Rita, Mita maid. Lovely Rita, Mita maid.
Good
I love
job.
this song. It's like I think he was inspired by watching meter maids put tickets on cars, and then he thought, "Oh, I should write a song about a meter maid." I think that would be very interesting. And the part of the song that always makes me laugh is sitting on a sofa with a sister or two, and I'm like, "Wait a second, I thought you liked Rita. Now you want the sisters too?" I just think it's a cute song, and how John goes at the end,
Yeah.
like they really like he's because even in the songs John would get a little funny, and he get a little cocky and want to be funny and silly in them, but I love John for that, because he just wanted to add some oomph to the song. But Lovely Rita is one of my favorites, always has been for a long time. Okay, hold on before we go on to you, Royce. Let's see what Michael has to say. To get that Rudy Tooty sound, Jeff Emmerich placed the microphone so close to the wind instruments you can actually hear the sound of the wood on some of them. That's
Wow.
so true, Michael.
That's
So
a great
true.
great comment, Michael.
Yeah, it's a good
Awesome.
comment.
Oh
It's true.
yeah. All right, Royce, your turn.
Okay, well, like you, James, I really like this song for a lot of reasons. Very popular, with my crowd when I was a teenager, 15, 16, 17. Very popular song. Meter Maids, I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to Australia, but the meter maids in Australia on the Sunshine Coast all wear skimpy bikinis. And when they come along and your meters ran out, they add coins for you as opposed to writing you a ticket.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. And we had a lot of them in Vegas, where I grew up. And I had a good friend, Rita, and she was my one of my best friend's girlfriend for a long time. And I don't know, the song just really resonated with me. I like it. I like the lyrics. I like the way it was put together. And I am definitely a fan of this song. And as far as I'm concerned, like you, I would elevate this song above the middle point of the songs as far as which ones I like the best.
Oh, Bill's going to say something here. Took her out and tried to win her. Had a laughing over dinner. Told her I would really like to see her again.
See her again.
Got the bill, and Rita paid it. Took her home and nearly made it. Sitting on a sofa with a sister or two. Yeah.
Way to go.
See, that's a great fun song. You can't take anything away from it.
Like, you don't know where this is going. It's like,
Bro came back with that story, I'd be like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, is he going to win or is he not going to win, or what's going to happen? Is he going to win her heart? We don't know.
Yeah.
But
And like Jimi Hendrix says on Red House, and if my baby won't love me, I know her sister will.
if I can't get lucky with Rita, maybe her sister will go out with me. All right, JJ, your turn.
Well, Lovely Rita, I love the sound. It's a really fun, it's a fun song. I love how they use I've heard they use comb and paper kazoo type of sound on there as well. George Martin helped with the piano on it. It's a great. It really is kind of like if there was to be one number on the weekend, we're going back to that whole theme of it's a show. This is a showstopper in my opinion. this is the one that you're going to be tapping away at, and want to hear again after you've seen the show. So,
Kate, you're
my
here. Everyone, Caitlin Stoddard's in the house.
Hey, Caitlin.
Caitlin Stoddard in the house. How are you, Kate?
Hey, Kate, good to see you.
Yes. All right, carry on, JJ. Sorry about that.
No, I was done.
Oh, okay. All right, Dan, you're up.
Dan the man.
Yeah, one of the things I read about the song here was that it was based on supposedly a true story. It was later recanted that it wasn't true. But McCartney once said that the thing that inspired him was, because here in the United States we call them meter maids, and I guess over in London they call them traffic wardens. And one day McCartney got a ticket from a traffic warden, and so he was telling everybody, "Yeah, I got a ticket from Rita," and they said, "Well, that's not Rita." Of course, it was someone else. He said, "It looked like Rita to me," So, but he said that's not what really inspired him. He just kind of threw that in. So that's not a true story. But he did get a ticket. He did get a ticket, but it wasn't from Rita.
No. I guess he didn't take her out to dinner and try to win her.
No, there's also a story too where this can't be true either. That once that song was released, years later, that traffic warden was trying to get residuals from McCartney because they used her name. That's not.
Is that right?
That's not true either.
Okay. Yeah, that one sounds like a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Well, McCartney, is Paul dead? I mean, come on, there's they did a lot of stuff.
All right.
By the way, Royce, I like your description of the meter maid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michael.
Uh-huh. Excellent. All right. What's next? Losing myself here.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Now there's a story behind this one. Well, you know how John Lennon liked to watch a lot of TV back in the day. Well, he was inspired that he wanted to write a jingle for Kellogg's cornflakes. And this is how he came up with the idea of Good Morning, Good Morning. And I just think the song is so good. And then I love at the ending of it where he's got all the different animals making sounds and everything. And then you hear the chicken clucking at the end, or if it's a turkey, I don't really know what it is. But just what they did with this song, it's kind of trippy in a way, because you're not expecting to hear animal sounds. Like, how does animal sounds go with good morning? Like, I can understand a rooster, yes, but other animals?
Right.
Doesn't make sense, but you know what? It works. It definitely works. So kudos to John for this one. All right, Royce.
Maybe another Pet Sounds influence.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, no, I like this song. It's not a standout track. I can't say as much about it as maybe I can some of the others. I mean, we're actually coming up to some of the ones I like, my favorites. But they're all good songs. Can't take anything away from it. And I agree with everything you said, James.
Mm-hmm. All right, JJ.
Yeah, James took away what I was going to say about it was, the whole Kellogg's cornflakes thing. And yeah, I know. I mean, looking back on it, how could a rock and roll group go to having chickens in a song? I would never put that together as being a hit, but the guy made it work. And so it's just a fun song, but I also really love the rhythm that Ringo holds in this song, and that really sharp sound of the drum that came out even more clear in the mono version, if anybody has a chance to listen to that.
Mm-hmm. All right, Dan.
Yeah, when I hear this song, it always reminds me of back probably in the 70s. Here in Dallas, we had a radio station, a rock and roll radio station, that in the morning of the drive time, they were real popular here in Dallas. And they'd always play that little part, good morning, good morning, good morning. Then the jocks would come in, hey, we've got traffic over here, But they always played that every single morning. I would hear that, And one of the things I read that I thought was pretty cool too. Now, I haven't gone back and listened to it, but at the end of that song where you hear all the animals, John Lennon wanted to sound like you got a bunch of animals, but one animal, he said, devoured the next animal, where it's suddenly that you don't hear the next animal, and each time.
Never thought of that.
Each animal would be devoured until very end, there's a guitar tone, a guitar note that goes into the next song. It just kind of
No kidding.
transitions
Yeah.
by reducing the animal noises into the guitar, then onto the next song, which is really creative, I thought.
Oh yeah.
Definitely, yeah. Now we get to Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band Reprise. The opening for this with that drum. I just like, oh, I get goosebumps every time I hear that. It's like, wow. Ringo's drumming to start it off. It's good to hear it down. We're Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. We hope you have enjoyed the show. It's just, wow. I don't know what else I can say about it, but it's just perfect. That little bit there.
Yeah.
That drum beat at the beginning is just iconic,
Right.
and that's what makes this work. That's all I have to say about that. I can't really say much more, but to end it off, you think that's the end, but it isn't. Okay, no pun intended. Not from the what's it called there?
Abbey Road.
Abbey Road. Yes, right. Okay, Royce, you're up.
No, it's the song, the album's anthem. It's a great song. I like it too. We all like that one. It's just sorry, knock my microphone over. It's a solid song. I like it. It's I don't know if I'd put it as it's not my favorite, but it's probably in the top say 6 songs for me.
Mm-hmm. All right, JJ.
I would even rank it as a song. I would rank it as one of the most brilliant production moves ever. It was actually Nick Aspinfall's idea, from what I understand, to bring it back. And in other words, like, we're in that show. We need to come back for the reprise because, the song that started, we need to go back to it again.
Yeah.
And that is really what the glue. And now we're just not this song, just this little piece makes it now a masterpiece, in my opinion. It's like on iconic albums that you've heard that one part, and then you'll never forget it. That is when the song comes back from the first side, and then now we're going to go to the end actually.
Yeah.
But now we've heard the whole show, and that's, to me, it makes this just one of George Martin's brilliant producing albums, and the way they put this together, and shows how the Beatles were brilliant because they listened to people around them that said, this is what you need to do.
Oh, definitely, yes. All right, Dan.
Can I ask something real quick?
Sure,
when I was just finishing talking, all 4 of your screens went black and they were all buffering with the white circle. Did anybody else? I don't get the impression anybody else was seeing that.
No.
Okay.
No, everything
all right.
looks
Thank
clear.
you. Thank you. Sorry, Dan.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the way I liked when they did this reprise on here, because at the beginning of the album, they're introducing you to the band. And now, and of course, they go through the entire album, transitioning from one song to another song like it's a concert almost. And now you're getting to the end of the concert. They're thanking the audience for coming, and of course, there's one more song on there. That's like their encore. So to me, it's almost like you're watching an entire concert. They're thanking everybody, and just like a real concert. When you think the band is done, everybody applauds. They always come out and do one last song, and that's how they did the album.
Oh, yeah.
Right on.
I thought it was very smart.
All right, let's put up Michael's comment. Sgt. Pepper's Reprise is the better cut compared to side one
To
every
side
single
one.
time.
I would
Right
agree.
on, Michael. Thank you.
Oh, yes, definitely. Now we get into my most favorite Beatles song on this album. And this is a song that made me a Beatles fan. A Day in the Life. Oh, the instrumentation in this song, like with the full orchestra, it just blows my mind. Actually, it's 2 separate songs. One was Paul and one was John, but they kind of clipped the tape together to mix both songs into one. Like, you hear John singing his part, and then it goes, doom doom doom. Woke up, got out of bed, dragged the comb across my head. Like, that's the Paul part of the song.
Yeah.
But everything just integrates together so well in this song, and I just love how it goes. And this is another song that was banned from being played on the radio because of the lyric, I'd love to turn you on. And then it goes dum 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 dum. Then
And that
you
was
hear the
iconic for Paul.
crescendo.
I don't mean to interrupt, but that was iconic for Paul as well. He was like, he actually said that. He was like, do you realize what we're doing? We're telling people we're turning you on. This is like, he knew when he made it that it was revolutionary. It was pretty amazing. That was in the anthology. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd love to turn you on. Then dum dum
Yeah.
dum. Then you hear the orchestra build up to that big crescendo at the end, and it goes, boom, and that.
Right.
And when I first heard that piano crash at the end, I was like, what did I just hear? When I was 16, I was like, oh my God. I had to play it 20 times over. I said, oh my God, I'm a Beatles fan. I love this. I'd never heard anything like that before in my life. And here's a little tidbit I don't think you guys might have known. The Beatles had 4 pianos, and the last one was out in the hallway to make it fade out with an echo. When you hear that last, you know how it fades out and you hear that hum from the
Yeah.
piano, from that chord? All 4 Beatles hit the same chord at the same time on all the 4 pianos. So when it was fading, you'd hear that echo of the piano still going as it fades out. But on some versions of the album, not when it first was released in '67, but on this one it does. If you let it fades out, then it goes quiet for a few seconds, and you hear some backwards gibberish. It sounds like they're saying "nanny goosey any other way, nanny goosey any other way," or something like that. I don't know what the hell they're saying.
It's meant to be gibberish. It was in the Dead Wax or whatever, that when they put that in there, what they were sick and tired of, what they thought they would do is when they went to parties and stuff, people were high, they were talking, and records were playing, and they would just let it go into the label, or just hear that sound. They were like, why don't we put something in there? And then that's how they just made something nonsense. At least some people had something to listen to when it got to that point on the record.
Yeah, but this song is still my favorite song. I heard it this morning, but it was I think it was a different take before they had the orchestra in, because you could hear John counting in the background. When 1, 2, 3, 4, you can counting out you just hear dunk 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 on the piano, but there's no orchestra because it's leading up to it. It's just the piano. You don't have the orchestra into this incorporated into the song yet. But another thing about the song, if you notice side 1, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, as it segues into With a Little Help from My Friends. You see what they did? They did the same thing. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band reprise segues right into A Day in the Life. Not a lot of people notice that, but if you're a Beatles fan, you're going to notice these things on this album. All right, Dan, Royce, you're up.
Okay. To me, this song is an absolute masterpiece. My favorite song by far on the entire album. I mean, lyrically, it's just like genius. It's like I read the news today, oh boy, about a lucky man that made the grade. And then it goes on to say no one was really sure if he was from the House of Lords. I mean, the lyrics are just spectacular in this song. To me, it's head and shoulders above the rest. And I like all of the songs, and some of them I really like a lot. But this is the number one. This is the top of the food chain for that album. Absolutely love this album. The lyrics are just amazing. The lyrics are absolutely amazing.
Oh, definitely. And the way they have the orchestra playing those wrong chords because it sounds weird. Like I never thought anything could be that possible on an album like that. It's like, wow. Oops, Eric's asking me a question. Sir James, that final piano chord is such a powerful end of both the song and the album. I read that the intergroove nonsense was on the UK version, but not the US. Well, mine is the UK version because it's on Parlophone.
You're right, Eric.
And they put it on all the re-releases that have been out. Like it's on the mono, it's on the stereo.
All right, JJ, you're up.
Okay, I'm going to go back to where I first heard this song. It's a masterpiece, it is. I just want to say my journey with this song has always been interesting. Was the first time I heard it used was in the movie Imagine, actually. I was 16 when that came out. And if people remember, they actually used it for when John got shot. It was, and I was a film major in college. Brilliant editing. Whoever put that together, where they did that real swirl, and they made that moment, as sad as it was, be dramatic, and they used that ending of it with that psychedelic orchestration. And I had that soundtrack as well. Great, to me, one of the best mixes. I'm not saying for mix as far as sound quality necessarily, but for song choice to get, for John Lennon, went all the way from Twist and Shout to Woman to all that. It's all on that record. And I had that tape, and it was an important part of my growing up. It wasn't until later when I finally was able to try to get that sad image out of my head, was when I later finally saw the promotional video for the song and kind of saw how fun it was and how much fun they were having with the song. And the lyrics are just brilliant. It's a song that's so great. You hear so much in it, you got to keep hearing it over and over again, and then you got to hear it again. The way the Paul part is just different than the John part, and the whole line was somebody spoke and I went into a dream, and
that's right.
How brilliant
somebody spoke and I went into a dream. Yeah.
And he blew his mind out in a car. It's
he hadn't noticed that the light had changed.
Yeah. And what's funny is even comedians have taken that. Rob Williams took that lyric and he actually messed with it, made a joke out of it by saying, there's hippies that did too much LSD that are still sitting at stoplights going, oh shit, another color. And he took it and made it something. He said, when you have something like that where everybody's taking it and doing something with it, you have a masterpiece on your hands.
Oh, definitely. Yes.
Right. That's exactly right.
Well, actually, that part, he blew his mind out in the car, that was from an article that Paul had read.
Right.
And then
they got the newspaper in the morning. Believe it or not, kids, we used to get this thing called the newspaper. It used to show up at our front door all the time. And that, if you ever watched all their movie, it was in Get Back, they're always reading the paper because they would have it brought to them all the time.
Yeah, that's how it was.
Does anybody ever read the newspaper anymore? I don't think, not to my knowledge.
I pretty much stopped, the last several years.
Everything's online now.
Everything's online.
Oh, definitely.
I can remember a time when I'd go by the LA Times Sunday edition. It was not that bad. I'd spend a couple of hours pouring through it.
Hey, James, you're talking about the end of that end of that song, how they're saying something, at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
I just looked up because I was curious too, because I've always wondered about that. And here's what it says. It says, as a day in the life ends, a 15 kilohertz high frequency tone is heard. It was added at Lennon's suggestion with the intention that it would annoy dogs. This is
they had you in mind, buddy.
Says this is followed by the sounds of backwards laughter and random gibberish that were pressed into the record's concentric run-out groove, which loops back into itself endlessly on any record player not equipped with an automatic needle return. Lennon can be heard saying, "Been so high," followed by McCartney's response, "Never could be any other way." So that's what they're saying at the end, which is another drug reference,
Right.
All right. This is for you, Dan, from Eric.
Let me bring that up. Oh, okay. Yeah. Actually, I got something else going with Mark Farner too. I'm working on. I haven't told
really?
Yeah, because he's a big supporter of veterans and Vietnam veterans, and I'm good friends with the mayor here in the town, and we have a big, huge Veterans Day celebration every year. And remember, Mark was saying, if he gets a chance to go back to Texas, he'll do it. So I talked to the mayor about, he's a big Grand Funk Railroad fan, and so once the city council decides if they want to, honor that or not, I'm going to contact Mark, see if they can come down here and perform on Veterans Day.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I've also got word into. I'm trying to get you don't know about this either, Royce. So I'm trying to get an interview with Chuck Negron from Three Dog Night. So
nice. There you go.
Working on that.
That'd be fun. That'd be a lot of fun. I hope that turns out.
Well, it's not set in stone yet, but I still have to talk to Dan on Facebook about it. But at some point, I'm going to be interviewing this gentleman.
Oh, okay.
Remember, I asked you on Kate's, and
Oh,
you.
yeah. About one of my videos that I've got?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I want to interview you, find out about your life story, all the people you've managed and stuff, and we'll talk about rock and roll. And I especially want to know all the stuff about when you went to Hawaii and you saw Elvis.
Yeah, yeah.
That'll be definitely something. So this album, it 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 uh, it it had another anniversary, but it was the U.S. Version on June 2nd. It came out in 1967 in the U.S. Do you remember that, Royce? When it first was released?
Yeah.
I remember 1967.
I don't. I wasn't even born yet. I was only born '69, so
Oh,
I came into the world, I guess, after Abbey Road was released.
I came into the world after they broke up.
Yeah, me too. At the start of when they broke up, and it was sad. But and you know what? I don't know why they haven't put them in the Guinness Book of World Records, but I think the Rolling Stones should be in the Guinness Book of World Records because they're the longest running British rock band.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
And Kate and I were seeing on the show today. Kate was telling us an article she read as part of the theme today. She said that the Stones are in the studio and are working on another album.
wow.
No, that's right. You know, when they did Hackney Diamonds, they had, I think, how many tracks did they have left over? You know, they made way more songs than they needed. And I think they had almost a full album at the end of that
I'll be right back, James.
last one. So,
Okay.
yeah, I knew they were going to have another album, but yeah, probably in the coming year.
Yeah, it's I like Sergeant Pepper. What I really wanted to have this album on vinyl because my friend he bought me the picture disc when I turned 49, and then I wanted because I wanted the one with the gatefold because I wanted it for nostalgic reasons. When I was 16, I first got it at the library, and so when I turned 50, I got birthday money, and I called my my record store, Sunrise Records, and I said, "Do you still have Sergeant Pepper, the 50th anniversary on vinyl?" They said, "Yes, they did." I said, "Could you put one aside for me? Because I'm going to come in. My name is James, and blah, 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 and all that stuff." So my sister drove me there. We had some lunch. She said, "I'm going to go to another store, look at some clothes. You go in the record store, have fun in there for a bit, get your album, and I'll come back when you're ready to pay for it." And when I had it in my hands, I was in heaven. I felt like I was 16 all over again. This is the way I've wanted it for so long, and now got it with the gatefold, just the way it was at the library, except I have all the other little tidbits that come along with it. Hello, Star Trekker. If you play Her Majesty backwards, you can hear Paul saying he's really dead. I didn't know that. But one of my favorite episodes is The Simpsons. Lisa's a vegetarian. When Paul and Linda were on guest starring on there, and Lisa's on the roof of Apu's garden or something. At the end credits, you hear Paul saying, "If you listen to Maybe I'm Amazed backwards, it'll give you a good recipe for lentil soup." And then at the end, they play Maybe I'm Amazed backwards, and you hear him saying the recipe for the soup. Then the other one they had was when George Harrison was on, and Ringo meets him at a party, and he goes, oh my God, where did you get those brownies?" "Over there." He goes, nom 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 nom. Then you see Homer doing it, and then the camera pans back to George. He says, "What a nice fella." And
That's
then
funny.
something about another episode where I forget who it was. he did something to Jane Fonda or something. He says, and I was the one that got Paul McCartney out of Wings. He says, "You idiots! He was the best one." Okay, here we go. The Stones already had several tracks left over from the Hackney Diamond sessions. They said at the time they had half an album already recorded.
Yeah,
Wow.
they had a bunch of songs left.
I'm
Yeah,
surprised they didn't make it a double album.
that might have been a decent idea.
Have they ever done a double album?
Probably more. Have they ever done a double album?
I don't know.
Yes, Exile on Main Street.
Ah, yes, that's right. Yes. I only hope they have the sense to include Living in a Ghost Town this time.
Yeah,
Perhaps
that
they will.
that was a good single. Yeah, Exile on Main Street. I went to that concert in Long Beach at the Long Beach Arena in 1972, and I searched for a clean copy of that album. You got to have an album of any concert you've been to, right? So, I mean, if it's a great band. So anyway, I searched for that album for the longest time for a copy. I was lucky to find one or two beat up copies and passed on them. I finally walked into my local record store, Traffic Way Records, down here on Traffic Way, and I walked in and found a copy that looked like it had never been opened. I mean, all the postcards were still attached at the perforations. The poster was perfect. The vinyl looked like it had never been touched, and I paid way too much for it, but I'd looked for it for so long, I just didn't give a damn.
If it means something to you, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
No, and that's what I did. I mean, I just searched for so damn long. I just had it, you know. But it was an OG. It was an original pressing. I don't know if I didn't left that out or not, you know, but it was an original pressing. Yeah, 72.
Prices are insane these days.
Like Kiss Love Gun with the gun. It was mine. I was getting it. I didn't care. I paid good money for it.
Right.
Do you still have the gun?
Yeah.
I had never. Yeah, it's intact. The person who had it did never put it together. I got it it's in the album.
That's amazing.
And it's actually in good shape too. And a lot of Kiss albums were beat up, so it's actually pretty decent shape.
Nice.
Well, I guess we're winding down. This was a lot of fun, gentlemen.
It was a lot of fun. Appreciate it. We've been talking about the Sgt. Pepper show for, I don't know, 6 months at least, haven't we?
Yes, we have, and now we're finally doing it. And I hope we can do another Beatles roundtable, and maybe next time we'll do a Revolver.
Well, this went so well. We'll just do the anthology. We'll go track by track.
I don't have the anthology, so
we'll do all 3 records. We'll be here for what, 12 hours? That'd be great.
Who knows? Just think when we get to the White Album.
You know, that's what
Big number 3 of Strawberry Fields.
I was going to say the White Album, you know, the White Album box set with the Asher demos or whatever they're called. That would be a really good one to do too.
I have that one, yeah.
Yeah, I have it too, and we've actually did a show on my show on it. But it was a lot of fun.
The biggest gem from those recordings that I love is the While My Guitar Gently Weeps, the acoustic version. That is just
absolutely
gives me chills when I hear it. I'm like, this
song.
Never made it out, you know.
Right. Love that song.
I really like listening. I guess James, you do too. The Beatles channel on XM.
Yeah, I do.
You know, I was listening to it the other day, and I'm hearing things on there I've never heard before. They're playing back in the USSR acoustically.
No kidding.
And they were just almost like horse playing around when they were singing it. I go, wow, I've never heard that before.
Right.
Well, I have to bring up Judah. Judah, come join us on the panel.
Well, Judah, thanks for all your hard work, and you can take my place because I'm actually going to check out now, guys. And,
okay.
I want to thank everybody. Thank everybody on the panel.
Thank you,
I appreciate you.
Dan, just the facts man, got a great channel, and JJ Pepper, and everybody in the chat. Although I can't, although I can't see any of you being up here on the panel. Just thank you all for coming and watching the show and supporting James. And all right, well, I'm going to sign off now. Thank you, guys.
Right.
We'll see you.
Take care, boys.
Thank you.
Judah, nice meeting you. Take care.
Nice meeting you too.
Thank you.
And Dan, I have to tell you, and JJ, I don't know if you noticed, but Judah heard Revolution 9, the one that goes number 9,
Yeah.
number 9.
Number 9.
Yeah, she heard. What did you think of that? Wasn't it weird?
I only heard the number 9 part because it's a meme somewhere.
Oh,
And I just knew, like, hey, Revolution number 9. I know that's from the Beatles, but I just know number 9. Number
I'll
9.
have to play the whole thing for you. It's the weirdest song you're ever going to hear. And
Yeah.
go, what was John thinking? Oh, yeah,
I don't know.
definitely.
That's the first time you're gonna
Michael,
go,
what's
what the
Michael
hell
saying
was
now?
that?
At this point, you better hold off on that anthology discussion, guys. There's rumors that the anthology albums may be increased to 4 discs. We need that like a spindle hole to the head.
Oh, I totally agree with you, Michael. I couldn't agree with you more. I have
It's
those on
just the money
vinyl. They're
grab.
great, but
That's all it is. Well, Dan, I appreciate you being here tonight. Thanks.
I
for
would
being
rather
here.
those extra tracks and stuff go on a box set
Yeah.
than an individual album.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, James.
Thank you, James.
Yes,
Thank
and
you for
I'm
being
looking forward
here.
to interviewing you. It's going to be a good one. Thank you for being here, everyone. And Judah and I will be back on Sunday to do it all for you again. And as I say on my channel, Beatles forever. See you on the next one. I hope a splendid time was guaranteed for all tonight. See you on the next one. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
See y'all later.
I almost hit the wrong button. And we